Hello, I'm delighted to be with you at the beginning of this Food Systems Dialogues organised by the Alliance of Biodiversity and SEAT, together with other colleagues here in Colombia. I'm really glad that you're looking at relationships between COVID and food systems. Let's just start a bit with some realities about COVID. You've been struggling with this virus in Colombia, as have other countries in Latin America, and indeed, as is the whole world. And we've really got to get used to the reality. This virus is not going to go away, and we're going to have to learn to live with it. I don't think that that's impossible. It does mean setting up defenses in all communities everywhere, so that if outbreaks of this virus and the disease occur, they can be dealt with quickly by interrupting transmission and then by containing the outbreak and suppressing it with the minimum possible damage. I don't believe that large-scale lockdowns are going to be the answer. Instead, I believe that the world will learn to live with COVID through local level action, perhaps involving movement restrictions, but most importantly, being able to detect outbreaks really fast and respond to them quickly. I also think that each one of us is going to have to play our part in getting on top of this situation. It's possible that we will have a vaccine at some point that could actually help people to be prevented from getting the disease. But to get a vaccine and to make sure that it works, and to then test it to see that it's safe, and then to get it manufactured and distributed everywhere, takes time. And so we're going to have to learn to live with this virus for the foreseeable future. And I'm saying to everybody, at least plan on 2.5 years. If the vaccine becomes available and it can be used more quickly, then that's great. But otherwise, what we learn to do will be good for us, for our families, for our communities, for our countries. And that's why I'm really pleased that you're meeting together as multiple stakeholders to look at ways of establishing food systems that will be viable in the long term, food systems that are fit for the future. COVID helps us with that because it exposes and then reveals for all of us to see some of the frailties, some of the vulnerabilities in our food systems, and helps us to work out what needs attention. Let's just look at some of the things that I've seen from around the world. The impact of the COVID itself and of measures to contain it has led to a sudden impoverishment of very large numbers of people, particularly those who are in the informal economy, those who depend on daily wages, and many of those are working in the food sector. Many of them are women. And so the result has been sudden poverty, sudden hunger, real risk of malnutrition for hundreds of millions of people all over the world. And food systems finding it difficult to connect with them because they've been interrupted, because people can't get cash, because the supply systems are broken. So therefore, a need to make sure that food systems can get to hungry people at local level is absolutely key. And then at the same time, the producers have faced difficulties, especially if they're producing perishable goods, because they can't get them to market. And they can't therefore get the income they need. So they've been having sometimes to plow food back into the ground, or to throw milk away, or to throw fish away, or whatever. And the result has been that they've faced massive income challenges, which in turn affects their abilities to plant for the next season and also increases their indebtedness. So looking at both ends of food systems, trying to shorten food chains so you can go directly from farmer to market, and really finding ways to ensure that the most disadvantaged people do not go hungry are real priorities. And there are really complex interchanges between food and health, because if you don't get adequate nutrition, your ability to fight against disease is impaired. So there are food system challenges. And you're coming together in multidisciplinary structure to look at these. You're going to do dialogue. And the purpose of dialogue is to understand that because there are multiple actors involved in food system transformation, we can't say there's just a single path to pursue. We can argue, we can debate, because each of us have different interests and we bring different scientific realities to bear on the issue. But we need to find ways also to accommodate to each other's perspectives and sometimes to shift perspectives. And so these food systems dialogues, and we've had a lot of them now, there have been more than 30 of them, more than 2,000 people involved, turn out to be really good as places where people with very different points of view can come together. So I ask you, engage unusually. Don't just talk to the people that you normally talk to. Welcome the diversity and find unusual relationships that help you move forward. And then explore collectively, together explore new options, move out of your normal perspective and look at different ways of looking at food. Remember the variety of different purposes that food systems have. Thirdly, encourage creativity to find new ways of working together. And fourthly, emerge powerfully so that it's not just this dialogue, but you use this dialogue session as the basis for some continued working together, perhaps coming back into more dialogues in order to review what you've done, because you are going to be working on longer term planning. And why not use repeated dialogues as a way to reflect on where you're at? There's nothing like working in an interconnected way. So last words to you, enjoy the dialogues. Look at the dialogues as a way of doing a long-term piece of work. Help the dialogues to enable you to understand COVID-food relationships and engage unusually, explore collectively, encourage creativity, and emerge more powerfully. Thank you very much for the chance to be with you today.